Hey, welcome back everyone. Old Bubs here. Let's get after it. How much should you spend on a folding pocket knife? This is, of course, a super loaded question that I do believe warrants an entire video of explanation, and the EDC and knife community truly is a community, so as always, please feel free to leave a comment down below on your opinion on the subject matter. To me, the right price for a folding knife for you is at the intersection of your personal budget and the features you are looking for, as long as those things can possibly be aligned. There are tons of people out there that just have unrealistic expectations at what knives cost, at what everything costs, and you know, I'm right there with you. I would love my grocery trips to stop costing $200 every time I go in the door, but that is a little bit of the world we are currently living in, and the pocket knife world is certainly not immune to that issue. In this video, I'm going to outline through a lot of different knives that I have to show you sort of some of the features that you get at different price points, and hopefully help you make an informed decision on your next knife, or maybe even your first knife. If that's you, welcome, buckle up, let's go through this. Now, starting off here, I very intentionally chose these two models. This is the Civivi Mini Praxis, which retails for right at about $30. There's a full-size version of this knife that I believe is closer to $40, but still very affordable. And then this here is the Ontario Rat Model 1. And this retails for $40. This is in D2 steel. Both of these knives are in D2 steel, which is something that you're going to be happy to have in this sort of price range. I mean, if you can get into some of the other steels, like C1428N in this price point, you're doing really, really well. But I would say that if you can get your hands on a D2 knife for about $40, that you're doing really, really well. And generally speaking, there's a lot of different knife types out there, but I would look for a reputable company like Civivi or Sencut or Ontario. There are so many different knife companies making a pretty high quality product in the $40 range. They're not all created equal, and these are a couple of my favorites. If you're looking to just get started, I think that the Mini Praxis is a really great knife. A liner lock construction, flipper tab makes it easy to deploy and close with one hand, even for beginners, and at worst you'd have to do the double hand, which, you know, when you're getting started, that's just fine. But most people, I feel like if you can flick a white switch, you can flick out a flipper tab, and you're going to be happy using this knife. Also, if you have a lot more hard to use tasks, the Ontario Rat Model 1 is just a standby with really, really good edge geometry. It's a good cutter, slices very well, ergonomically friendly in your hand. And if you're looking for a smaller version, there is the Rat Model 2, which isn't as big and bulky. There's a lot of knife to be had in this sort of $40 price range. I don't know that I would spend my money on something that's under $30, and I certainly wouldn't be spending my money on a knife that's 8CR or saying that it's surgical stainless steel or stainless steel. Generally speaking, if they're not giving you the chemical composition of the steel that you're purchasing, I would just look the other way. This is a market of abundance. There are so many different knives that are available for you to get that are a lot higher quality. Now, the next sort of bump in price range that I'm going to use for this is around $80. You start to get into some knives that have different fun locking mechanisms, features like micarta. This one's a nitro V steel. This is a Civivi Conspirator, which I think is just a lot of bang for the buck at about $80. I have a lot more knives in this price range that I could lay out on the table, but I think this one makes the point quite well that in this price range, there's definitely some different features. You get a button lock, or nowadays there's a lot of even bar lock styles that are coming out since the patent for the Axis lock has expired, and it's open season on bar locks, clutch locks, whatever you want to call them that isn't the name Axis lock. When you step into about this $70 to $80 price range, there's a lot more cool factor to be had. Sencut, Civivi, and we are all the same company, and it's a US company. company that manufactures out of China, and they do a really good job. Civivi's sort of the mid-tier, Sencut being the most budget conscious of the line, and we being the more premium brand. I have not noticed much of a difference in quality between Sencut and Civivi, and I like them both. That is not a knock on Civivi. I think that Civivi makes great knives, but I have noticed that there's a pretty significant jump, especially in the models that I have, for WE knives. Jumping ahead just a touch, just because I love to show off the banter and the big banter. Obviously, the big one's the big one. I mean, sorry if that wasn't clear. I said it in a backwards order, but big, regular. These are made by WE knives, and these are stepping up to where you're going to start getting into some more premium steels. This being S35VN, this being 20CV. I'd put this kind of in the next bump, where also you can start to get a lot of US models in this sort of $115 to $150 range. There used to be a lot more here, but prices have been creeping, and it's a lot harder to get. It's a lot harder to get US models in this price range, but they absolutely do exist. Kershaw has plenty of USA made models in this same price range. So does Buck, and you can always find a good deal from a retailer, but I'm gonna generally speak on regular price, not full MSRP, but regular normal retail price. I think there's a lot to be had here. These are just a couple of my favorite knives. You can get some really, really good knives made overseas and some US models that's in that we'll say $100 to $150 range, which is a good spot to get a really good pocket knife. Now here is where we are really getting somewhere. I think that in a lot of ways, this is the point of diminishing returns for pocket knives, where you're not going to get any more function out of your tool. You're just going to get some additional features or fanciness or just some personal preferences that you like. If you are not looking to be a knife collector, well, first of all, I warn you to tread lightly. It's a dangerous thing to get into, even if you didn't mean to. Getting your first really nice pocket knife can sometimes lead to having a table like this where there's just so many. I warned you. All the knives on the table here are within a price point of about $150 to $212 at the top in the 940. Pretend for a second here that this Para 3 does not have titanium scales on it, and it's just the standard Para 3. So obviously there's modifications to be had, but I did pay less than $200 for each of these. The 940 because I bought before the latest price increase of Benchmade models. If I left a 940 out of this video, the comment section would be filled with people saying that the 940 is better, that's the only knife you should ever get, and everything else is garbage in comparison. To those folks out there, I say keep carrying the 940, keep the faith. If it's working for you, don't change. It's a great knife. But everything on the table here is a USA made knife in a premium steel. And I think if you are looking to be a person who wants a well-built, long-lasting, premium USA made pocket knife that's going to last you forever, and you plan on being a one and done, I want one pocket knife that's going to last me forever, I think this right here is the sweet spot. You can shop some crazy deals. I got this. This is a Spyderco Paramilitary 2 in S90V with this teal G10. I got this in a buyer's club that I'm a part of for $154, which is like a killer deal. Those deals are out there to be had from time to time. But generally speaking here, you're going to get a feature-rich knife. And this is a hyper-functional tool. It's a little bit fat in the hand for me, but if I was going to be making cuts all day, I think I would want that because you're in a much more relaxed position. And this is a really nice knife. These are in, I believe, the $180 range right now. If you want something a little bit crazier, this is a Spyderco Yojimbo in CPM Crewwear. This knife is a DLT trading exclusive. Really nice knife. If you're looking for something a little smaller, the Spyderco Para 3 comes in S45VN steel, the stock one. one. And even right now, a regular pair of 3 is about $175, but you can find different little sprint runs, different exclusives from different retailers, like even as low as like $150. And there's a robust market for aftermarket parts, which makes it a ton of fun to customize. I would contend that if you go further than this space, you are certainly spending more on preference than you are the functionality of the tool. All of these tools are going to perform cutting tasks beautifully and last you a really long time with great warranties. These are large production companies, so that's what moves us into our next little category here. This category here can be a lot more controversial because this is a small company using an overseas OEM, and there's kind of a going rate here that is higher than our last category of large production USA models. Now, obviously the previous USA companies make models that are much more expensive, but again, you're paying more for preferences and nuances than you are the materials here. But on the table here, we have a Vero Engineering Axon that is a major favorite of mine. I love this knife. It is one of my favorite knives I have in my collection. I have another Vero knife that I plan on getting more. This is a $360 knife, at least it was when I purchased it. I have the Winter Blade Co. Factor, which is an incredibly cool knife. The Winter Blade Co. Factor retails for $375. And then another example is this Burnley Squid 2 that's made in Italy, but the Burnley company is a small knife maker. And this knife in this configuration, the OD green grenade pattern with this bronze hardware and M390 steel, is $350. Now all of these are in premium materials and titanium and frame lock, titanium and carbon fiber, all titanium. All 3 have M390 steel, but they are made overseas by OEM, larger companies, but they're under the branding of a small USA-based company. I think that's important because this is kind of the going rate of in that $350 to $400 range. If you want to truly support small makers that are committing a ton of resources to their designs and giving you the highest quality materials possible. And some of these prices can seem absolutely outrageous. It's worth mentioning because I heard it in person this week that there's an argument that gets thrown out there in the knife community all the time where people say, I mean, for $350, like I could buy a gun. And I think the argument to that is, well, of course you could. The other day I was trying to slice my apple and cheese with a 45 and open my Amazon package and I ran into some serious issues. You should be using the tool that works best for your purposes. I love these knives, this sort of price point, because I really like supporting small makers, and there's some really, really cool stuff out there. And the craziness in all of this is in this price range, there is a huge market for knives. These are hard to get. These makers are producing these and they're selling out fast, and it's hard to keep them in stock. So there's a super robust market for this. The last category here is not all encompassing, but this is the top for me right now. This Demco 8020S is the most expensive knife I own. Now, I've actually spent more on some semi-custom builds where I've bought expensive scales and it was an expensive knife to begin with, and then I had to have purple everything and a new pocket clip. But that's besides the point. This was the most expensive knife that I have purchased to date. Just standard, straight out of the box. And we'll call this category the 400s and beyond. Because if you're new to this, people spend into the thousands, well into the thousands of dollars on pocket knives, and many times they're not even custom, they're not even necessarily USA made. But the 2 on the table here are USA made. This is a USA made Demco 8020S, which is just an absolutely exceptional knife. And Demco Knives is a small US company, and this here is a Tactile Knives Rockwall. Tactile Knives is out of Austin, Texas. This is also an all USA made knife. This knife is a little bit of a backtrack because this particular model is only $300, but Tactile has a lot of stuff on the way that's going to be in a little bit higher price point. And I think Tactile is knocking it out of the park on their pricing for the build quality that you're getting on an all USA knife. Like seriously, this knife, when you handle it, when you disassemble it, when you reassemble it, everything down to the screws, the hardware, just everything about it, you can tell that this is in a different category of being a small American company making production knives versus the earlier category of the large scale production models. There is just a different level of fit and finish and the way things click together when you enter into this category of small batch USA made knives. So remember, the right amount to spend on a knife is at the intersection of your budget and the features that you are looking for. Leave me a comment down below. What is the most you'll spend on a knife? I always look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you let love and light fill your life. Stay sharp out there. I'll see you on the next one.